Welcome to another episode of the Lead Gen Hustler Show, where we speak to agency owners to break down their lessons and learnings throughout the space. Today, I'm joined by James Watson, the founder and CEO of More Results Marketing, an exceptional agency owner, a consultant, and a coach, having worked with over 1,000 business owners since 2007. Join us today as we dive into James's journey, unveil his tactics and his lessons that have crowned him a king in the marketing realm. James, what a pleasure to have you on the Lead Gen Hustler Show. Thank you for coming on.
Well, it's a pleasure to be invited, Noah. So thanks so much for having me.
So, how are you doing? And maybe to kick things off, it'd be good to just hear more about where you're based and what you're working on at More Results Marketing.
Yeah, so I'm based in the UK. You can tell by my funny accent. My former business partner used to say all the time. So the Americans think we have a funny accent. So I've been doing, as you said, a whole bunch of stuff, running my own business since 2007. I've been in internet marketing as it was really known back in 2007. Digital marketing was yet to be born. So I left a job. I was in corporate sales, but I was always looking for other opportunities and really wanted to go out on my own. And so that happened back in 2007. So I joined forces with a business partner, and we've coached thousands of business owners, people starting businesses, growing businesses, expert businesses, improving their selling services, becoming experts in their industry, also online marketing, and actually e-commerce. So we had quite a big e-commerce training business as well. And we had our own e-commerce brand around the middle of the last decade when that was all just really, really hot. But since about 2018, I've been running an agency just by myself, which is really more of a very boutique agency. About a dozen or so clients that I work with personally. Actually, I have 2 clients from 2018 ongoing. I have like 3 or 4 clients from 2020 still to decide. A lot of long-term relationships with long-term clients. Why? Because I'm almost like a fractional marketing director for them. In fact, at least one of my clients calls me his marketing director, even though I'm an external consultant. So I'm not just providing an agency service as cookie cutter. I like to, do them as best I can to help my clients solve all their problems. Lead gen is one of them, but obviously conversion, marketing automation, content marketing, they're huge issues that people need help with. And so that's really what I've been doing the last 6 years. In terms of the name, LinkedIn King really started around lockdown, so around 2020, totally bored, nothing to do. So I jumped on Twitter for the first time, started tweeting, sharing some of the stuff that I've been doing, and just kind of as a joke, because there was a cold email wizard. Shout out to Daniel Fazio. So I just, as a joke, LinkedIn King. It's stuck. People seem to like it. So it's still there. That's how you can find me on Twitter, especially, and under that handle. So yeah, that's it. I've really been sharing on that platform for a couple of years in detail, a lot of stuff that I've been doing on LinkedIn. And latterly, in 2023, I shared a couple of Google Doc publications where I've been sharing some of the strategies I've been using. I've been getting results from my clients on LinkedIn, generating leads, using events, using groups, and actually setting appointments for my clients using those strategies.
Well, what a journey from there to be able to get to where you are. And you definitely are the LinkedIn king, which is crazy. Just to understand, have you battled between consulting to agency, or do you see it as one entity that is complementary to itself? And it's not like an either or situation. It's just within the agency, there's consulting, and a level of that is a component which aids you to be able to do a better service when you deliver.
Well, the thing is, there are several things that made the difference, I think, and explain the longevity of the relationship I have with clients, which is unusual in the marketing space, right? The average length of a marketing client is like 3 months, 6 months, I think, at most. So anybody doing more than that is doing a better job than average. So one of the things that I insisted on right from the beginning was I speak with my clients weekly. And most agency owners will be like, oh my, are you kidding? How can you possibly do that? And so this is why I'm not so much an agency looking to scale up with account managers and layers of management. It's much more of a boutique consulting where I'm working with private clients. I'm not really looking to outsource the management of the strategy with my clients. That's very much down to me, and as using my skills and ability over the years, all the experience that I've gained, and my clients appreciate working with me rather than with an account manager that's maybe with less experience. So speaking with clients weekly has developed an absolute cast iron bond and understanding and a relationship that is really very, very strong, to the point that, I lost hardly any clients during the lockdown period
Yeah.
because of that strength of relationship. And so that's one piece of advice I'd give any aspiring or even current agency owner, is to make sure that you speak with people your clients on a regular basis. And I'll tell you, the reality is that some of my clients are in really difficult markets, like cybersecurity, enterprise digital transformation. And although I've been able to help them get results, generate leads and opportunities, it's not easy for them to directly always quantify a return on investment from the work that they do with me. It's not like they're always open, generating leads, closing business every month. Because some of these deals, they're very long, and the sales cycles are hard and complex. But people appreciate that I'm actually helping them. I'm helping them to move forward.
Yeah.
And the alternative is to not have me at all and try and figure this out on their own, or maybe try and go to other agencies that will promise the world and typically disappoint. And so most people really like to work with somebody that has these skills. It's very much a modern way, this fractional operator, fractional service provider, because you could go and hire a CMO. It's going to cost you $150,000 a year plus US. And you've got no guarantee that person still actually knows what they do. Maybe they just interview well. Maybe they actually, there's no cultural fit or whatever, right? So, but when you pay for someone who's fractional, it's literally they either deliver results and value, however you choose to quantify them, or they're out. And I think especially now in the times that we're in, where people are looking for best value, there's a lot of scenarios. I have some clients that deliver fractional services in IT, for example. Some cases, it's much better to hire someone fractionally, pay them much less than you would do a salaried employee, but you've actually got a skill set that's way higher than that. Because I'm fractional, I can have multiple clients, so I don't need to earn a salary from each individual client. So it's more cost effective for those clients. So that's really the model that I've chosen.
That's very interesting, and it'd be cool to be able to just understand, what does like a typical engagement look like, or what does you don't need to name, but what's it look like when you start working with someone, and the channels that come into play, or is there an audit? And I'll shut up. I'll let you tell us.
Well, so for the most part, people come to me now saying, James, I want to do this LinkedIn. I want LinkedIn, because LinkedIn, it has such a dominance in the marketplace. It's a monopoly of business to business online networking. It just is. Facebook is obviously huge and enormous, but it's not dedicated to business networking, obviously, whereas LinkedIn really is, or at least professional networking, shall we say, for employees and business owners. So, and LinkedIn's growth, I did some research into the numbers. It's really quadrupled in terms of the user base. And actually the searches for people looking for LinkedIn lead generation have quadrupled since 2020, 2021. Again, there's a little bit of lockdown, so traditional marketing being less of an option. But overall, the amount of interest in LinkedIn as a platform for generating business, whether it's lead generation or finding a job, right? It's just going more and more and more. And obviously the user base is going up and up and up. So it's the 800-pound gorilla of B2B networking. And so I get people coming to me saying, I can see LinkedIn is good. How do I get started generating leads, helping it to grow my business? And at that point, I'll say, great, where you're at, and then we'll start with an initial engagement. We'll help optimize their profile, because profile optimization is really the first step before you would do any outreach. And I actually created a 60-minute masterclass called LinkedIn Profile Optimization. I was going to charge for it, but I published it to my YouTube for free, and it ranks on YouTube. You go and search for LinkedIn Profile Optimization, you'll probably find me 3rd or 4th in the SERPs. So again, anybody that wants just a really good overview of how to optimize their LinkedIn profile, go for free. My YouTube, you can watch that. And I think we've had about 24,000 views of that so far. A lot of positive feedback. So LinkedIn profile optimization is the first step. Then we will go into campaign building. So who's your ideal avatar? How do we want to approach them? And then really, what assets do we want to leverage? And latterly, I've really been encouraging my clients to create groups. And obviously I help them with the whole group creation process, because I have a dialed-in process where I have more than 1,200 people that have agreed to a call with a client because after they have joined my client's group. So I have something like a 22% call offered to call agreed ratio in the thousands. So about 5,500 offered, about 1,200 accepted. And so I have a proven formula really
Mm,
for getting appointments once people have joined groups. So I really help optimize the whole group strategy. Then I'll do the outreach using Expandy, all of the different campaign styles, which we can talk about, my favorites and the ones that
yeah.
are getting the best results. I'm sure people are keen to hear what they are. So then we'll start the campaign outreach, and I literally offer that as a managed service and handle all the outreach. Once people reply and they're interested in a call, then I hand them over to the client. The client books the call and takes them forward, moving from that point onwards.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, that's the point of handover. And then in addition, where there's like, do you also do consulting across other areas, or is it strictly now like everyone's coming through for LinkedIn, or do you consider other means because you have the freedom and flexibility because you're not tied into this is our set protocol. Obviously, you have the protocol within LinkedIn and the proven frameworks and strategies, but in parallel, the ability to have a look and see if there are things which you can do as well. Like, for example, we're going to deploy posts, on top of the just running campaigns. Do you have that flexibility and sometimes deploy additional things like that as well?
So it's really interesting with agencies. There's a bit of a dilemma with agencies is that it's good to offer multiple services because that adds value to your retainer, your value
Yeah,
proposition, however you invoice and bill. However, you don't want to be a full service agency because that's
yeah,
literally death, right? To have to run a full where you try and do all things to all people. It's just impossible to do everything well, just physically
hmm,
impossible. So you can't stretch yourself so thin. So, for example, content marketing, I haven't this far done any content marketing for my clients, apart from consulting them, helping them, coaching them to do it
yeah.
themselves. But so I
No,
haven't
that's what
brought that
I
in
was
house.
getting on. But
Mm.
you do like, so you're able to offer your expertise in parallel to be able to share your knowledge on these aspects as well, which is interesting because it's on top of what you can typically do, where you're stuck to that productized offering, like you say.
And I'll give you an example. So again, this weekly call, we're not just looking at the reviews on LinkedIn, in
Yeah.
detail for 60 minutes because they don't change that much. We look at the KPIs, the numbers. If all is good, green lights, which it normally is, then there's not much we need to talk about, particularly, right? So then we'll talk about, well, what else can we help you now with all these leads that you're generating, all these calls that we're booking? How can we help you convert more of them to the next stage of your funnel? How else can we draw attention to the top of the funnel and get more people in that way? And the thing that's really helped is the marketing automation strategies I've helped them with. So I have my own white label marketing automation platform. It's a white label of Go High Level, which is Go High Level is obviously the standard in the agency space for marketing automation CRM.
Yep.
As an agency owner, you can white label that. So I give all of my clients their own sub accounts. So all of the leads that we generate via Expandy and the LinkedIn outreach campaigns get funneled into the CRM. They get organized and funneled, tagged, segmented, so that we can then do follow up and outreach to them. And also, they have really nice dashboards for KPI tracking, etc., all built into to Go High Level. So for some of my clients, I'm really their marketing automation CRM expert, even though they're not doing any LinkedIn outreach anymore, but they still engage me, retain me, because I help them with the marketing automation side, because I know so much about it. I've been using Go High Level since 2019. And I've interviewed Sean Clark, as I have
Yeah.
Stefan, and so know a lot about that automation side. And really, that's really the other side of the coin, because Expandy does a tremendous job at the LinkedIn automation, but it is not a CRM. And so there,
Yeah.
the leads have to go somewhere. So you can go to HubSpot. HubSpot's expensive. Especially if you're small, getting started. High Level is far more. I can offer the same, if not greater, functionality than HubSpot for a fraction of the cost. I can do it under my brand as an agency, and that just makes my service, very sticky and very valuable, and therefore people want to stay with me for even for longer.
Yeah, no, it definitely by making yourself so integral that they're actually leveraging, the CRM under your umbrella is a really big play. When I had a lead generation agency, I was putting it into Pipedrive, but then it's just like, and then building into everyone's CRM. And basically, what I'm trying to say is there's no consistency to what everyone is using. So therefore, you're always implementing into someone else's environment. But by you having your own white label version of High Level, and then from that, being able to enable people to have those subsidiaries, I think that's really awesome, as it gives the ability to just give them that best environment with dashboards, everything built out, and then, like you say, help them afterwards.
Right, and some clients only want to use my high level, but some do have their own HubSpot. In which case, typically there's a handover once they've had an appointment booked. That's all handled inside of my high level. Then the appointment booking, they're a sales qualified lead. Now they're into their HubSpot or whichever CRM they're using, so they can actually track the deals in that system. So again, we live in a complex world now where multiple sales tools. Gone are the days where you have one tool for a CRM. One tool for an automation platform. You use the right tool for the right job in this complex world of digital marketing that we now inhabit. And most people are very comfortable with that these days.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, just going maybe a little bit back before we jump into campaign process, because I know everyone wants to hear like your strategies, but just one last on the kind of fulfillment process. How do you manage all of these clients? Do you have a bandwidth? Is there a limit? And how do you spread your time? Because obviously you are allocating your time. So I'm just interested to understand how that looks, and then how do you go about just managing that behind the scenes in terms of the internal operations? And yeah, that'd be good to understand.
Sure. Yeah, I have a small team of assistants in the Philippines that have worked with me for many years now, and they work on some of the operational side of things. But a lot of it is automated, right? There are some things they do manually, but we automate and we standardize everything we do, so it's pretty efficient, and we get the best of both worlds. We automate with software like Expanded, but we also automate with humans, where that's the best way to get the outcome that our clients need. So I'm fairly flexible in terms of how we do that. Preference always for automation, because automation is more reliable and consistent than humans at doing many tasks, not every task, but many tasks. And that's, so we use the automation when we can, but we use humans too. A big part of what the team do is actually putting KPIs together. So actually taking data from Expandy, putting that into KPI dashboards that we manage and maintain, share with the client, so that we can demonstrate exactly what's happened on a week by week, month by month, year by year basis to clients. And that's our dashboard for how well are we performing. I've even done that for the campaigns that we run on a client basis in Expandy. I have my team, and if there was a wish I had for Christmas, so they're currently manually taking this data out from Expandy's campaign data. I wish there was some sort of API or something that we could get the data from Expandy's campaigns. I'm talking about, connection requests sent, connections accepted. Yeah. If we could get that as an API, that would be wonderful. But currently we're taking that manually, putting it into a more appropriately formatted format or context and document that I can work from, and then we traffic light it. So red, amber, green. Yeah. So are the campaigns red, amber, green, and my team now are trained how to analyze that. And so I can just look at these campaigns and I can just focus on where there's amber or red. And if there's green, it's all good, right? So that's how you really manage campaigns in a very leveraged way.
That's awesome. What are the indicators that a campaign can become amber or green or red, just so we can understand as well?
Yeah, 100%. So we have a whole series of KPIs that we track in performance by. So one of them, for example, will be percentage of, a connection acceptance rate. It's a classic one. Let's talk about that, because that's the one everybody wants to know and understand. So what percentage of people that you send a request to accept that connection request? So typically for me, the KPIs that we use, anything below 15% will be a red. Anywhere between 15 and 20 will be amber. Anything 20 and above is green. And sometimes I have a light green and then a dark green. So light green was good, but dark green will be excellent, superb, right? So those are typically the metrics, and that they haven't really changed over the year, because the average connection success rate is about 22%, 25%. It's fallen off a few pointers over the year. It used to be as high as kind of 30, low 30s. But again, there's a variety of factors that go into that. But anything above 1 in 5 people accepting your connection request is good. Even amber, anything above 15% is good. It's just good enough, right? But then anything below 15 is not ideal. However, that said, there are some times when that still makes sense, because sometimes I have some campaigns where it's maybe 10%. But the quality of people we're reaching out to are super targeted, super difficult people to reach out to. So even if we get 1 in 10, the value of each of those people makes it worthwhile doing. So it's all about having a balance of different campaigns. And that's what I look at when I'm looking at a client's account. Have we got enough balance? Are we getting enough quality, enough quantity between the mix of campaigns that we are using for them?
That I think is a nice segue into actually going into the campaigns. And yeah, I would love to then understand, like, imagine you're signing up a client. Um, what's that look like? You said you had the profile optimization process. Do you then go into a warm up and execute a few different campaign types? So like, yeah, how are you translating the ICP? Talk me through the stages and just from that profile optimization, taking the product, placing that out. Yeah, what's that look like?
So we have a whole series of templated documents that
Okay.
we build out for each client. So for example, we have we'll call it a LinkedIn outbound workflow documentation. So there are different steps in a logical sequence. So for example, we have to work out, well, who is their target profile. So then we're looking at keyword levels, what keywords are positive that we want to include, what keywords are negative we want to exclude. Same at a company level, same at a seniority level, even an industry level. All of those things that you can customize in a LinkedIn Sales Navigator search. So I'm
Yep.
literally building those out in columns in a sheet, positive and negative. So that's kind of the avatar. We can have more than one avatar, but that at least we need at least one. Then I like to look at groups. Groups are great. Groups are one of the best ways of reaching out and engaging people, because people who are members of groups are typically way more likely to want to engage with your message, whether it's a connection request or whether it's a direct group message and you're not even connected with them. It's a big secret. A lot of people just don't understand the power of groups on LinkedIn. So I'm looking constantly, we're profiling the avatar who are looking to reach out to. What groups are they likely to be in? So then I'm getting my client into those groups, because now you have to actually be a member of that group in order to do a search for people that are members of that group inside a Sales Navigator. Until about 2 months ago, you didn't need to. You could just literally mine the data from any group, even if you're not a member of it. You can't do that anymore. So now we have to get our clients into groups, which is fine, no problem. So we try to get our clients into as many of the groups that are relevant as possible. Once they are a member of the group, we can then leverage that to do searches, build lists of people, and do outreach campaigns, connection requests, and also direct group messaging to them. So groups, so building out lists of groups, qualifying the groups, building Sales Navigator searches once they're into the group. We track all that as a separate document. Once we've got the document, then with the Sales Navigator searches is another document. So we're tracking, we're labeling all of the searches, and then have we added them to Expandy? What do the numbers look like once we add them into Expandy? So we have a whole series of metrics that we need to track in a separate document. And from there it kind of moves forward into, then we build out campaigns and actually track two things. We're tracking campaign performance on a regular basis. And then we're at a campaign level. So how is each campaign doing? Connection requests sent, messages sent, etc. But we're also tracking at an account level. So globally, how many messages have we sent? How many new connections have been made globally for that account in the last 7 days? And so we're tracking each of those on separate sheets. And that's really the full build out of from research and profiling through to building out campaigns, then tracking, measuring, monitoring the performance and tweaking that on an ongoing basis.
And then the North Star in terms of a timeline when tracking all those things, are you working towards a CTA, which is to be able to generate a marketing qualified lead? But when we say marketing qualified lead, an action taken by a qualified contact where they opt into, say, a call booked, or they request to send their email. Is that kind of the North Star for a campaign after you get past the metrics of acceptance rate, the reply rate? Is that what happens?
Well, the majority of my clients now follow the group strategy that I encourage them, because it gets such great results. So those that have groups, then the main metric is how many people do we get into groups? What's the group growth looking like? And again, we track that on a regular basis, because we know once we get people into the groups, we have a process of reaching out to them, inviting them on a call.
And their own groups.
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
This is what nobody understands in this business, Noah. Everybody just thinks LinkedIn groups is a place where you go and spam your content and hope you get away with it. Nobody talks about the power of owning your own group. It's the simplest damn thing in the world to create. And the power of owning your own group compared to not owning a group, it lifts your authority, expert positioning, your status delta.
So you're effectively, well, we'll talk about strategies in a moment, but just everyone is then being actually placed and pushed into the group. So therefore, all roads lead to increasing their thought leadership, which makes it significantly easier to be able to create a message which will evoke a response. Because, like you said, they have elevated their thought leadership to that degree. They own a group. That's interesting. And you've also booked, wasn't it, like 170 calls in like several weeks or something like crazy through groups? I read as well. So maybe it'd be cool to hear about that story.
It was the first 14 weeks, I think, of tracking that. It was 170 calls booked in 14
Wow.
weeks. But since then, now I've been doing it nearly a year.
Yeah.
And I said we booked 650 calls have been booked. I said about 1,200 calls have been agreed. During that time, I said 22% call offer to call booked ratio. And there's a high show up rates and etc. And a high conversion through to a sales qualified lead at that point. Typically about 1 in 5 of those calls have turned into sales qualified leads across a variety of different industries. So once we get, for every person we can get into a group, we know that a percentage very predictably will turn into a phone call, will turn into a sales qualified lead. So it's super consistent. That's why getting people into groups is so powerful, because it's a micro commitment. We're not asking people to jump on a call straight away, because that's a big ask. And people get bombarded with strangers asking them to jump on phone calls with absolutely no incentive, motivation, just because they want them to. And it's a stupid way to conduct business. Unless you have a really compelling offer, great. But most people don't have a really compelling offer that they're reaching out to people, inviting them on a call immediately. It is very much like asking for marriage on the first date. It's the biggest cliche in the world, but it's true. You don't go out on a first date and with someone and invite them and ask them to marry you, right? It's ridiculous. You shouldn't do that with marketing. You just reach out to them, get them to start to hold hands for a while, right? Go on a date first or something. But
I'm learning. I won't be asking that on my next date now.
So with that said, so groups have been incredibly powerful for generating appointments, and my clients love the fact that we have a consistent way of generating those appointments. But I also have clients that do a lot of events, and actually events can help feed groups, feed engagement in groups. But some clients, really focus more on the events than the groups. So LinkedIn events are incredibly powerful too. So they can be another conversion goal. Obviously, to really maximize events, you want to build connections, because when they're a first level connection, we can invite them to events, 1,000 per week per LinkedIn account. Most people, again, don't know how powerful it is, the volume that you can do inviting people to events on LinkedIn. It's a crazy opportunity.
It's insane. So just take a step back. So we've got two funnels effectively, leveraging the LinkedIn event play and the group strategy, but it's not taking someone else's group, it's pushing people through to a group, and then from that, the funnel is then converting people through content. Or what does that look like in terms of as a next stage once you start to invite people through to the group? Is it just messaging them?
Yes, we'll message them pretty quickly after they have joined the group, not some hours or whatever, but but we don't need to wait. Some people say, do I need to wait till they've been in the group and consume more of my content? No, the fact they've agreed to join your group means that they already know a little bit about you, who you are, and what you do, whether you're an individual or a company, and they like you enough to have joined your group. Otherwise, why would they join your group? Right? It's a micro commitment. It's a separator. So they already like you enough now that you can ask them on a call. I've tested this with webinars, where people have registered for a webinar, an event, and we invited them on a call straight away just because they registered for the webinar. The conversion rates from the webinar registration to call agreed was about 1/4 of the agreements that we get once they've joined a group. So in other words, 4 times as many people agree to a call after they have joined a group compared to just registering for an event or a webinar. So
that's crazy. And to drive people into the group, what campaign type are you running as a first step?
This again is a secret sauce for most people. Most people are still stuck in the 4 or 5 years ago that all we can do is connect and then send messages to people that send connection requests. LinkedIn doesn't like you sending a connection request as the first interaction with a stranger. It doesn't like it. So it will throttle you if you don't get good engagement in a good percentage connection accepted rates. So instead, what it totally happy for you to do is to send messages to people, especially if they are relevant to you in some way, or they've given indication. There's two main ways to delineate people who are willing to be messaged, and LinkedIn is happy for you to message them. One is people with open emails. So anybody that has a premium profile that chooses to receive messages from other premium members, they are literally opting in to receive cold messages from LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is happy for you to send messages to them all day long. Now, they will throttle you depending on the acceptance rates of your messages, and it'll go a little bit up and down. So you can't just do insane volume necessarily. Sometimes you can. It'll be campaign dependent. But we can send messages for free to people without having to connect with them. So that's a very valuable segment of the marketplace. They also typically are more open to connecting. They typically are more active on LinkedIn, so they're more likely to see your message. So they're a really good segment to go after. The other people, we've already talked about groups. So people that are in the same group as you can send them a group message just from one group member to another they don't have to have an open email profile. So they can have a closed profile, but you can still message them because they are in the same group as you.
And
so if you now
sub-segmenting, you're also cutting those people down within the groups.
100%, yes. So we are still filtering those people. Are they ICP, but all in the group, rather than ICP out of the group? Because ICP in the group, way higher conversion rates than ICP out of groups. And same with open emails. Now, again, you're going to get lower numbers, again, depending on the groups. Some groups are bigger. Some groups will convert better than others for a variety of factors. Generally, the biggest factor is the identity of the group. Is it about a topic that is well defined? If it's a big, broad, open topic, like all of marketing, digital marketing group, it could be anything. But if it's a very specific subset of that, like say it's an email marketing group, and you reach out to them and say you're in this email marketing group, you're in the same email marketing group, and you've got a resource about how to increase open rates or something, just beat Google spam issues. That's very relevant. So you've now the relevancy is through the roof. Relevancy is more important than personalization. I spent years doing personalized images, great strategy, but actually relevance in who you're reaching out to and why you're reaching out to them is the number one factor after the strength of your profile. Because again, if you're Mark Cuban and you reach out to someone, right, he reaches out to you, you're probably going to accept his connection request regardless, right, just because he's famous and well known. So expert positioning is number one, but then relevancy of that message and groups is a great way to show show relevance. We're in the same place, but those groups have to be a little bit more prescribed. They have to be about a certain topic, not just big, broad groups that everybody's in, where there's no real affinity with that group, if that makes sense.
That definitely does, and it's super interesting to be able to understand that what you're doing is you're leveraging the group as an indicator of intent to understand that it makes sense to be able to approach, and then you then provide relevancy through a piece of content to be able to hook someone in, which is a soft call to action to be able to invite them into your environment, which is your group, where you now control the show to a degree, and then you can then nurture them, and there is a funnel to a degree that has been created as a result. So it's a really unique way of leveraging what you can do to be able to automate LinkedIn to your advantage to generate what was back in the day significantly easier to get accepted, generate replies, and ultimately sales qualified leads. And just touching on back in the day, I've seen a lot of agencies throughout the space. When we got, even me personally started, we were using everything under the sun. We were sending thousands of requests and we were having a lot of fun growing our profiles. But limits kicked in, things changed, CSVs got taken away. You've survived throughout all of that and have had great success. And it's crazy to be able to hear how your strategies have evolved. But how have you always stayed one step ahead when these things are coming into play? Is it just having unique strategies, or is it foreseeing when a volume is throttling and having more profiles? How do you deal with these limitations, and how have you stayed ahead?
So at this point, let me sort of go into like a 1 or 2 minute sales pitch for Expandy at this point, right? So because you guys deserve it, right? What you do is phenomenal. Right? It really is. And again, I've no interest in that other than just recognizing you guys for what you do, and you've contributed a huge amount to my agency, my consultancy, because your tool has consistently kept up with those changes and innovated to, in many cases, be ahead of the crowd. And I will say, so for people that I was speaking with an agency owner yesterday. In fact, a guy who owns a white label LinkedIn automation software. This guy knows a lot about LinkedIn automation, right? He has dozens of clients on his own platform. But he didn't know that Expandy has mobile connector campaigns. He doesn't know that there's more than one type of connector campaign in Expandy. One is the traditional connector campaign where you can put in a custom message. Hey, Bob, saw we went to college together, would love to connect, something like that, right? Custom message. Those are the messages that LinkedIn really throttles. Typically around 100 is the normal limit, sometimes 150, depending on the profile strength per week, I'm talking there. But mobile connector campaigns in Expandy is something pretty unique to Expandy. I haven't seen many other platforms actually offer the exact same thing. It's pretty crazy what Glenn and the team have cooked up here. So using what I understand to be mobile API endpoints, you're sending connection requests through this mobile connector campaign. You're effectively emulating using a mobile app on a mobile device, sending that connection request. And LinkedIn has had a much higher tolerance for sending connection requests from mobile devices rather than from desktops and laptops. And that means in some cases, some of my clients, I might be sending 70 to 100 normal, regular custom message connection requests a week, but I can be sending 200 mobile connector campaign connection requests a week. So in total, for some clients, I'm sending up to 300 connection requests a week still, because of those combination of two different campaign types. If we didn't have the mobile connector campaign type, we just wouldn't be able to send anywhere near as much volume. So thank you.
So that's really awesome. So basically what you're saying is leveraging these different innovative approaches to be able to combat volume has enabled you to be able to rethink how you're doing things to be able to achieve the same level of volume or spread across different campaign types to be able to get to that level that you need to hit to receive the right number of messages that result in the conversions.
So absolutely, that's for connection requests, but you also need to leverage open email messages and group messages. So if I wasn't sending open emails and group messages in addition to connection requests, if I wasn't doing the combination of all of those, which is exactly what I wrote about in my documentation, the LinkedIn group blueprint, right? How I generated those 170 phone calls in 14 weeks. I talk about the 5 different campaign types that I use on LinkedIn, all with screenshots, all with Expandy. And so it's the combination of all of those different campaign types that gives you the maximum volume that you can achieve in terms of getting messages out to your ideal target profile. Now, it takes a little bit extra work. Gone are the days, the days of just being able to send out, 500 connection requests, 1,000 connection requests a week. And it's good, because that's totally unsustainable. It's absolutely crazy. It was destroying the platform. So it needed to go. And it's good that it did. What is left now are really the grown-ups, right? The kids have gone away, right? Now the grown-ups are left to actually run serious businesses, reaching out to people with serious, relevant messages that are high quality, not just trying to spam the whole universe and on a 0.1% response rate, trying to build a business, right? Which is definition of spamming, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, you've got to use all of those campaign types, and without expanding, this would not be possible. For me.
Do you leverage multiple profiles as well when you're enabling an organization? Is it
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, I mean, I have one client that has multiple SDRs, so each one has their own account. And what's crazy about that is when you have 3, 4, 5 accounts and you build them all up, some of them have 10,000 each, and these are just normal SDRs. They're kind of young SDRs. They've got 10,000 LinkedIn connections in their ideal ICP. Like, that's a business asset that this person has that they don't even realize. But what that means is that now when we run an event, so I ran an event for that client last month, we sent out 15,000 invitations in about 3 weeks, because 5 accounts, 1,000 a week, 15,000 invitations.
It's insane.
And the response rate to that, even if is tremendous. And we tried advertising, trying to get people into events. The cost was ridiculous on LinkedIn, ridiculous. So the value of organic outreach to get people on events is just through the roof. So especially once you have a network of first connections that you can then leverage and invite to, because you can do an event a month. Like that's a great strategy. Event a month. It's not too much work, but the marketing machine really does get you tremendous return on investment, time and money for that.
So that's super interesting. So basically, effectively, what you're saying is to enable all of these individuals to be able to build out their ICP within their first degree connections, which will enable you to then redirect these different events or groups and all of these different activities. But ultimately, by building up that component, it's actually significantly easier to be able to achieve a higher level of momentum, results, and everything that ultimately comes from that, as opposed to the old way, which is just reach out to people, send requests, and that doesn't work now. It does, but in a different way.
Well, again, it depends on, so the connection request success rate will depend on the variety of factors, the strength of the profile, the relevancy of who you are to the market. So the variety of factors, and the reality of this day is the elephant in the room here is volumes have gone up across the board. This is why LinkedIn is having to combat volume, and it's actually done a pretty darn good job, I would say. Look at the mess with cold email. The volumes of cold email have just gone like this, right, in the last few years. Everybody knows it. Everybody sees it in their inbox. You're flooded every day by cold email. And what's because most people's response to dropping off of conversion rates is to send more volume. So it just creates this negative spiral that is a death spiral. And so that's only going to get worse and worse. Cold email is going to get harder. Again, if you're really serious about cold email with serious relevant messages, cold email can work all day long. But it's poisoning the well for the rest of us. But this is why Google is now going to clamp down on this. And we're only starting to, it haven't even started. April the 1st is when they start a percentage of the spam traffic they're going to start filtering out. So they're only just starting literally 2 days ago when we're recording this, right? So we're going to see some blood in the water with the cold email guys. And guess where people will be coming back to get leads and opportunities? LinkedIn. Yes.
And I think that's really interesting. I just perhaps like to just hear about a few of these different kind of lessons and learnings you've got from running the campaigns. Are there any things which you've done which you've seen that just don't work at the moment, which you could help people to understand, to be able to avoid if they're starting to implement the right practices to enable them to get their offers out there or help them acquire clients? Yeah.
100%. So you need to adopt the best practices for email as well, which is lead with value in advance. So don't pitch offers in first messages. Don't pitch calls. Don't pitch offers of services in the first message. It's just a bad idea. So lead with information. Lead with offers of information, either creating a video, sharing a resource that is relevant to them, but you need to explain why it's relevant. Otherwise, you're just a spammer. Right? So if you do a good job at offering, we help somebody at such and so achieve this outcome, would you like me to send you a document that shows you how, the strategies we use? Great. Now it's kind of relevant, easy to say yes to if I'm interested. But if I'm not interested, I'm not going to be offended because you're trying to lead with value, not just trying to get me on a bloody phone call then when we don't know each other, or even worse, trying to pitch me on your software. Sorry, software people, or whatever. Like, just don't pitch me your software in the first message. Like, no. Like, do what you guys do. You create amazing lead magnets, high quality lead magnets, and the best in the business, frankly, and especially in the LinkedIn space, like hands down the best. And so start leading with those, and events kind of fit into that. So the things people like to receive initial messages about, invitations to events. So if you're running an event, doesn't matter if they don't know you from Adam, they're happy to consider being invited to an event, especially if that event looks high quality. And guess what the other one is? Groups. People don't mind being invited to groups, because how many groups do you get invited to by a cold email or cold LinkedIn messages, Noah? I can tell you right now, big fat zero, right? It just doesn't happen. Does not happen. I did a campaign. I had an e-commerce client. Again, it's a terrible market. I don't recommend people going into doing lead gen for. Sorry if you're in that market, but it's one of the most competitive, difficult to make work. Again, anything can work, but some are really so much harder than others that I generally steer away from them. But I cold email lots of people and for this client, and I got like a 1% response rate of people that wanted to come and join their group on LinkedIn from a cold email. and built hundreds of people in their group for them, brand owners and leaders, like really high value audience, just by offering a cold email, come in and join a group. And it's like, it's amazing. What now, again, you have to optimize the group, because if the group is poorly positioned, people won't see the value. But if it's positioned correctly, and we have a whole strategy for how we optimize groups, essentially, shortcut to that is if you get clients' results, and then just say you're going to share how you got those clients' results in the group. So it's almost like, rather than giving away just a PDF as a lead magnet, gate the lead magnet in the group rather than behind your website or a landing page.
That's awesome.
Because getting people into the group is way more valuable than getting them even onto an email list or just behind, because there's less engagement, there's less commitment. The conversion
it's also harder to move them over to another platform when they're already in LinkedIn. You know, we see people adopting Beehive at the moment, which is great, but it's 3 more steps to sign up. It's just, you know, as we all know, less barrier to entry is the fastest route to be able to get someone to actually step forwards into the next room.
And don't get me wrong, email is incredibly powerful and very valuable, and everybody should be using it. But what I'm saying is that where is the value of that? Where is if you're going to ask that person to take one action to get the lead magnet, what's more valuable, putting them on an email list or getting them into your group? And I've got the statistics to back up that getting people into groups is way more valuable. Now, if they don't join the group, try and get them on your email list by all means. But getting them into the group is literally the key to getting consistent meetings, getting consistent sales opportunities. I found that across multiple markets in multiple territories, you know, for a year now that I've been doing this.
Is there anything which you see that doesn't work in like your, like, not doesn't work, but where you have spoken to a client, let's say like a cybersecurity client, which is attracting CTOs or developers or engineers, and they're not active in groups? Would you start to deploy different plays to be able to take into account kind of the mindset of that persona? Because it's the same with like Hyperice. If we use like these imagery, I had to take into account that images sometimes didn't actually work with a more mature audience, and it was too gimmicky. So there are times where that comes in.
Totally. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, in more sophisticated markets, absolutely right. So you want to reach out to C-suite or senior level IT. Good luck, right? Good luck. Not easy. So again, I have clients in cybersecurity, some I've been working with actually one since 2018. So we've got everything wrong in the book. But again, what's interesting is that we continued working together because we tested different options. And now we got to this point where I created a group for them. It's got 5,000 members in their specific sub niche within cyber. And it's like, they are experts. They've got podcasts. They interview people, like, you know, really well-known people in the space. They are the leaders, the authorities in their sub niche. And they've got this captive audience, and they do events. And so they've really dominated their space because this media business that we've built for them off the back of LinkedIn connections, and the LinkedIn group especially, has just snowballed. So now, that said, what's the problem? There are some markets where it's just damn difficult to sell anything. Cyber is definitely one of them. It's not an easy market to sell stuff, all kinds of reasons. Won't go into it really on this call, but I think what has worked the best for them is building this community, because their prospects and have told them that they welcome the place where they could come back and find them and kind of re-drink, re-drink from the well again of information. And so people don't really want to go back to your personal profile. They don't really want to go back to your company page, but they'll go to your group. And if it's your group, there's more connection points. So building that group has allowed them to really develop their product market fit, their service market fit, the language that they use to resonate with their ideal prospects. And they've used it to develop their products and services according to the feedback they've got from the market. Whereas if you just go to people cold and say, do you want this? And if they say no, or they just ignore you, you don't have any feedback now to optimize your offerings. So that's a subtle, it's a real subtle value proposition there. I don't know how many people will get that. But for them, it's helped them move forward tremendously because they're a startup, effectively trying to find product market fit for a new service. And this group, this engagement on LinkedIn, has just given them the base for everything they're now doing.
I think that's super interesting, and also like it comes back to what you were saying before, where you said you tried or looked at the cost of say LinkedIn ads, and it's actually significantly more expensive versus the more touch points in this organic route. So it's really interesting to see how that just really outweighs the need to be able to adopt those other channels and taking this kind of approach. Um, wow, what a lot of information we've had. We had so many more sections, but I think this is a fantastic kind of learning experience around how you approach campaigns and the method behind your madness. Just to be able to, wind down with a couple of questions, I'd love to just understand: is there any other tools that you're looking at in the future, which you're looking at as the next set of things to leverage? I'm seeing people talking about Clay. I understand it's not the be at and end all. Like you said, the reality is you need to have that the real reason why you're reaching out to someone before it comes with that personalization. But yeah, do you look at anything and see that as the evolution of the space? And if so, what is that?
Well, I mean, there's one big thing which is dominating everything, which is the AI revolution, right? So that now we can use AI to create content. We can use AI to refine customer avatars, create copy for events, and other messages that really we just weren't able to do before. In many ways, we can create a better picture, a better profile of our avatar than our clients. Some of the clients just don't have that good an idea who their avatar is. They just don't know. Most businesses just don't know. They have a product, but they really don't know how to market it. They've got no or limited idea what is an ICP. They wouldn't have a clue what an ICP is. If you speak to the average person, average business owner, like it's pretty niche even in the marketing space to understand that term, right? So people have a really hard time defining their ideal market. You go and speak to 10 businesses, probably, and you ask them who their ideal client is, 6 of them will say anybody, right? That's the kind of the average level of marketing ability that the average business has. They've got no clue. And that's because they're not marketers. They are product developers. They are service providers. They are experts in whatever they do. Marketing is a completely different skill set from their core discipline, right? The core value that they add. So all that's to say really is that AI, I'm looking at using AI really how to, conversational AI off of LinkedIn is really big. And I'm looking right now at actually I'm actually testing a solution right now that is actually working, emulating conversational AI. So let's just say somebody messages you and they connect with you, and now you can send them a message. You can use automation for that. But after that first message has gone out, now it's like the automation can't cope with that anymore. Yes, you could maybe move. It can't respond based on what the person says back to them, right? But AI can.
Looking ahead, what's the next step for more results marketing? And what are you looking to be able to achieve over the next year?
So I'm honest. So yeah, it's a good question. So I like working with clients, but I'm not looking to scale an agency with 100 clients, right? That's not what I'm looking to do. So I definitely enjoy working with a handful of personal clients and getting close to their business and helping them as a fractional marketing operations guy, right? Which is good. So for the right clients, I'm definitely happy to continue working with them. But I think there's other options that are a bit more leveraged that I'm looking at doing as well. Especially, and the main opportunity really is creating more digital assets to be able to sell, because people really need help. And they're not necessarily looking for courses. Courses are what people think is everything. That's actually not what people want. But there's lots of things that they do want. So, for example, checklists, cheat sheets, kind of templates, fast start ideas, and all kinds of things that people can quickly implement and get value from. Those are digital assets, I call them. And so, starting to build a market of those and selling those to people directly. Giving people value from those, and that's something that I then have scalable products that I can sell to the audience that I built over the years.
That's interesting. Justin Rowe. I'm not saying Justin Welsh. Probably everyone thought I said Justin Welsh there. But Justin Rowe, who's in our world, but he's in Impactable, actually had back in the day a Gumroad page where he just shared these digital assets. It's not as mature as what you're probably building out, but I just think it's interesting, like you say, to be able to have shared and showcased all of this knowledge, and then be able to have an endpoint where people can go to be able to actually take things further through these different assets. And like you said, it becomes much more scalable because it's not based off of servicing, but it's enablement in a different way, which is
It is,
interesting.
and I think the key distinction is people are used to giving away stuff for free, and almost like there's expectation you have to give away stuff for free. That's nonsense. No. People will pay for stuff. Now we're talking low ticket, relatively low ticket, sub 10, 20, 30, $50, sub $100. People will spend that money all day long if there's a value proposition that they like, right? That you're really overloading the value. And once you have a customer, that's way more meaningful than them just being on an email list for free. The value of a customer is at least 10 times that of a lead, probably close to 100 times, because they will engage more. Again, you've got the status delta, you can upsell and cross-sell, and they will just be more responsive to you because they've actually given you money. Money has transacted. That's a very powerful transaction, very, very powerful thing. When people are giving you money once, it's way easier for them to give you money again if they've given you money once. So this is basic marketing 101. And I think a lot of people have moved away from that, just giving away stuff for free. But there is slowly people starting to realize that's not the way to go, because we're swimming in an ocean of free content and the value of it has decreased commensurately. You guys have probably seen this too, because
you can spend your time. There's a paralysis you can experience where you don't actually execute as a result of just continuously absorbing all of this free content, which is just everywhere right now. So that's why we're even trying to do these things to help people to be able to really action on these items. But yeah, we see that the evolution of this content is becoming more gated. We see like people in like Gong, massive account executives who have built out brands. Sarah Brazier, she's sharing gated content which is paid behind a paywall, and like it's very interesting, very, very interesting that other salespeople and in the agency space are wanting to part ways with putting in money to invest in themselves to be able to get this content through someone that they've resonated with for a long period of time. Yeah.
I mean, fundamentally, it's tripwires. I mean, Digital Marketer wrote about this, years ago. They didn't invent it either, but they just coined a cool name that everybody remembers. It's tripwires. You can build massive businesses just based off a tripwire. So acquiring a customer at break even, just paying for media costs, then not making any profit on that front end transaction, but it makes all subsequent transactions infinitely easier. The conversion rate much higher because of that initial transaction. It's basic marketing 101. But too many people move away from the fundamentals in the rush to the latest social media fad or marketing or technology fad. Fundamentals are fundamentals, and and when money gets tighter, let's say in tougher economies, the number one thing you need to do is return to marketing fundamentals, because they will always be in your favor if you implement them appropriately.
And like you said, that really is talking about the value ladder. When you hook someone in for that initial purchase, whatever that is, it makes things significantly easier to be able to then service or do anything else. They're in your ecosystem. So James, what a pleasure it's been to learn from you and your journey and breaking down, how you've got to be able to smash it in more results marketing, but more so your entire head of experience. Wow, that was amazing. And the first LinkedIn offering that we've spoken to within this series, I think it's really interesting to have showcased this to everyone and our listeners. So the final thing that I do with every guest is we actually have a question from our last guest. So I have a question from Matt Lucero, who runs an agency in the US.
I know Matt. Yeah.
Nice. So he wants to understand, what advice would you give to yourself when you first started your business? And is there any shortcuts that you think would have got you to where you are today any faster?
So it's interesting because I haven't had a fast growth approach to this business. It's been very slow and steady because I have multiple clients for multiple years. And so I would say that that's actually a pretty healthy way to be. So think about the long term. It's again, it's a phrase that somebody who was super smart I learned from once. He said, you want to substitute, long-term wealth for short-term income. You want to be prepared to sacrifice short-term income in exchange for long-term wealth. And so not trying to be in a rush, not trying to be in a hurry, just trying to build something kind of slow and steady and consistent is a great mindset to have, because I've built businesses that have gone like this. And let me tell you, like, multi-seven-figure businesses just from scratch, they are a nightmare dealing with it. So actually, a lot of businesses go under because they grow too fast, not because they're not growing. So it's very dangerous to grow too fast. So slower and steady growth is great. It really is the way to go. And I am so, but I've actually done that. So if there's anything that I would do differently, I think one thing I struggle with, ironically, is maybe a little bit of consistency, because really life is about doing the boring stuff consistently well. And I think if I'd gone back and had my time again, it wouldn't be me necessarily doing all the boring stuff. I'd get a team member to do it, but I would really commit to building systems that we know are long-term. For example, growing an email list. An email list is going to be your biggest, most valuable asset in your business. So just growing that consistently. I haven't done a good job of that over the years. You know, I built my LinkedIn network and stuff like that, but not really focused on email as much. So going back in time, I'd focus on building an email list and growing that consistently over time. That'd probably be the number one thing that I would do.
Well, thank you. That's really awesome. And do you have a question for our next guest that you'd like to ask?
Yeah, thanks for putting me on the spot. So okay, so
they're going to be a lead gen agency owner. They're in the same space, just if that helps. And actually, this one is in the UK. They specialize in helping people in the finance sector through email ads and LinkedIn.
I'll tell you, here's the question I use a lot on sales calls, or just with people in general if I'm coaching or consulting them. And it's the magic wand question. It's the Dan Sullivan question. If you're familiar, it's like, if you could wave a magic wand and have anything happen in the next 12 months, you know, what would that be and why? Right? It's literally, so if you're on a sales call, if you say we've got some agency owners here, like asking your client, like you're literally asking them, what is the most important thing for them, that if they could see that happening in the next 12 months, so focusing on a longer term goal rather than a shorter term goal, what really would move the needle for them? Because oftentimes we're clouded by these short-term things that we think are important, but actually there's this North Star, to use your phrase from earlier, that actually is typically longer term. And so I found it really gets people out of that short-term mindset into long-term, what really matters. And so that's a powerful question to ask anybody at any stage in their business. So I think it would be a good one for your guest.
Definitely. Well, it's been a pleasure. Final point. Where can people reach you if they want to connect with you?
So you can definitely find me on Twitter, X, at LinkedIn_King. Again, you can find me, I'm James Watson on LinkedIn. I'm also I have a YouTube channel as well. Again, LinkedIn_King or James Watson, you'll typically find me there too. I have a personal brand website, jameswatson.com, that has links to those different properties as well. So maybe jameswatson.com is the best place to go to find out more about me.
Awesome. And we'll have to share your guide, the blueprint that you mapped out with the campaigns at some point.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, so the guide, the blueprint is great. I can give you a link to that. But also, again, this LinkedIn profile optimization, there's a free 60-minute masterclass. Go search for that on YouTube. Yeah. It's a great place to start. It's still the best single 60-minute overview. And even though it was recorded 2021, back end of it, 90% of it is still just as relevant today as it was back in 2021, because the fundamentals haven't really changed about optimizing profiles on LinkedIn. They even had featured sections on profiles back then. The featured section is very important on your profile page. So I cover that even on the masterclass. So yeah, watch that masterclass if you're interested in taking the first steps to really dress up your LinkedIn profile in its Sunday best.
Awesome. Well, James Watson, the LinkedIn King, thank you for coming on the Lead Gen Hustler show. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Noah. Likewise.